Initiation into Hermetics, a practice of magic by Franz Barden. So we begin step 7 in the reading, Magic Mental Training 7. In the 6th step, the scholar learned to become conscious of the own spirit, to act deliberately in the body as a spirit, and also to use his senses consciously. In this stage, he will consciously pursue the properties of the spirit or of the mental body and use them as well. Here, of course, just like anywhere else, the analogy of the elements is to be considered. Just like anywhere else, the analogy of the elements is to be considered. I just said that. It has been mentioned before that the fire element can be transformed into light and conversely. Without light, there would never be any reception of colour for the eyes. Consequently, we could not use our eyes without the existence of light. From this point of view, it is quite obvious that the sense of visual perception is analogous, yes, I prefer to say it that way, analogous to the fire element. This element related to the spirit shows as a specific property the will. The mental property belonging to the air element is the intellect with all its aspects, and it is imputed to the hearing. The water element of the spirit is expressed in the feeling or in life. These 3 element principles of the spirit, say fire, air and water, together are producing the earth principle of the spirit, which shows itself in the specific quality of consciousness. The Akasha principle in its simplest form manifests itself in the conscience. The magician will at once understand the great importance of this analogy, if he has already developed so far as to achieve the magical equilibrium in the astral body by means of introspection. The next task he will be asked to fulfill is to analyze his spirit and to find out which of the elements is predominant in his spirit. In the case of people having a very strong will, which does not mean stubbornness, the fire element will of course be predominant. If the intellect or the intelligence with all its aspects is prevailing in the magician's spirit, the element of air is supposed to be the stronger one. In the case, the magician should be, above all, an emotional character. The water element will play the main part in him. If he has a weak memory, the consciousness will be affected very often, and one can take it for granted that the prevailing element is that of the earth. The classification serves to establish the efficiency of the elements in the spirit and to arrange the development, so that the weaker elements are balanced by suitable concentration exercises and deep meditation. The magician must neither allow the fire principle nor the ones of water, air or earth to prevail, and has to know how to classify his exercises in such a manner that the intensity of his work will neutralize the elements. Let me explain this problem in detail in the light of an example. Suppose the magician's intellect be on a very high level, his will being weak and not quite up to the maturity of his intellect. Then he must try to strengthen his volition by suitable concentration exercises, which bring out the fire principle in the spirit. He should mainly select exercises which are training the eyes. That means exercises of optic imagination, considering that the eye corresponds to the fire element. But if the magician has a strong will and a weak intellect, we shall come to the conclusion that he has to give his keenest attention to the hearing by imagination exercises, i.e., he has to choose concentration and meditation exercises which are fully engaging the ear. Should, however, the magician own a strong will and a very good intellect, his emotional life or his feelings somehow lagging behind, then he will have to render his spirit more emotional, which he can accomplish through such imagination and meditation exercises which influence the feeling very strongly. If the magician should notice that his astral body as well as his mental body incline mainly towards the earth element, say that his thoughts come very slowly in his spirit and that he gets the blues, that is to point out that the earth element prevails and that first of all he must train his consciousness with the help of suitable exercises. The magician has to develop his spirit to perfect harmony with regard to the elements. and to choose exercises corresponding to the elements and at the same time to the senses, so that the will or volition, hence the fire, the intellect, hence the air, the feeling, hence the water and the consciousness, hence the earth, are enhanced and developed evenly. The outcome of this description is the following schedule, which I will quote for the sake of a synopsis. So here we have on camera the table, 6 in the horizontal, 4 in the vertical. So I suppose we could read that in sense of elements: fire, air, water, earth, akasha. So with the senses, fire would be eyes, air, ears, water, perception, earth, taste and smell, akasha, all in all. For fundamental qualities of the spirit, fire would be will, air, intellect, water, feeling, earth, consciousness, akasha, conscience. For exercises in concentration and meditation, fire would be optic, it says here, air, acoustic, water, emotional, earth, expanding of the consciousness, akasha, realizing realities. Carrying on. The akasha principle developing from concentration. There is no need of descending to particulars. It is also superfluous to quote single exercises of concentration and meditation. According to the specific qualities of the elements prevailing in him, the scholar can easily compile them. He will select imaginations of objects, pictures, etc. for his concentration exercises. If he has a weak will, he will select imaginations of objects, pictures, etc. for his concentration exercises if he has a weak will. After all, he went through these exercises already in the second step of this course. The above harmony schedule is, so to speak, a signpost, sort of a compass to find out which of the elements is preponderant and which of the exercises has to be taken up more intensively. As a result or success of this hermetic classification, the akasha principle will reveal itself to him.